You ever roll into a GM forum and see a blurry dyno plot that looks like a lie it's so flat? That's the energy tonight. GM just leaked the Gen-6 V8 torque curve, and it doesn't read like a nostalgia piece. It reads like a company trying to win towing, throttle feel, and warranty math at the same time. If you've been waiting to see whether this is a real successor or just a marketing decal, the shape of this curve finally answers it. Let's put a villain on the table before we get cute. Narrow power bands and brochure peaks. For 10 years, we've been sold best-in-class horsepower at revs you never touch and peak torque. That's a sharp tent you fall off the moment you breathe on the pedal. Trucks don't live there. Trailers don't live there. Transmissions hate it. The Gen-6 leak kills that game. The line doesn't spike, it settles in like a table and refuses to move. Here's what the curve shows in plain English. Peak torque arrives early, think low 3000s, and then stays within a few percent of peak out to 5-something. That's not an accident. That's long runner tuning plus phasing authority plus smart fueling. The old small block charm was makes torque everywhere. The new trick is keeps torque everywhere without cooking the cats or hating 87. The Gen-6 plot says GM finally optimized for the way people actually drive, merging at 2,500 RPM, towing at 3,000, passing at 4,000, not chasing a number at 6,300. How do you build a V8 that looks like a turbo curve without a turbo? 3 levers, pulled hard. Lever 1, air path and runner length. Expect a dual length intake, long for the early hit, short for the mid-range carry, with a plenum that doesn't swing pressure like a metronome when the throttle blips. The curve tells you they nailed the resonance, so cylinder fill stays fat from 2 to 5K. That's why the line doesn't droop where old intakes ran out of breath. Lever 2, cam authority and phasing speed. This plot screams wide authority on both cams and phaser response that isn't lazy. Early intake valve closing to build effective compression at low RPM, late intake closing, and overlap tricks as revs climb to keep the lungs big without killing emissions. If you've driven a small block that wakes up at 4 grand, this one woke up at 2 and never fell back asleep. Lever 3, fueling strategy. Read the curve with the emissions calendar in mind, and you can almost see the injectors. This is likely dual injection, high pressure direct for knock control and a port rail for valve hygiene and mixture prep in cold starts. That combo keeps the torque table flat without dumping enrichment the second you put a trailer on it. DI only can do it. DI plus port does it for longer, with happier cats. There's a quiet fourth lever you can't see on a plot: thermal management. The only way to publish a plateau like that and not buy catalytic converters by the pallet is fast light-off, smart coolant routing, low-mass manifolds, and less heat living near the firewall. The Gen-6 shape says the thermal budget finally matches the torque promise. Now, why does this matter when you're not staring at the internet? Because tuning to a plateau changes the truck. It changes shift logic, it changes how tow haul feels, it changes how much gear you need to mask oversized tires, and it changes fuel economy under load. Shifts first. A plateau means the 10-speed doesn't need to hunt to stay on the engine. The truck can hold a gear and ride the flat. That feels like confidence. It sounds like calm. It keeps turbine inlet temps and converter heat where you want them on long grades. You watch the RPM sit in the fat at 2,800 to 3,400, not skate between 2,200 and 4,500 while the trailer yanks your temper. Tow/haul next. On old curves, tow haul mostly kept you off lugging and gave you some engine braking. On a mountain with the Gen-6 table, tow haul should feel like truth. No drama, no desperate downshifts to find torque that wasn't there. Hold, pull, cool. You don't realize how much stress that removes until you're doing 65 into a headwind with a box behind you, and you realize you haven't looked at the temp gauge in 20 minutes, tires, and gearing. A torque plateau forgives you for your wheel choices. With 33 seconds or 35 seconds, the truck still sees enough cylinder fill at real road RPM to behave. You're not always dipping into a gear you hate just to get passing room. That means the penalty for aesthetic choices is smaller, still there, just smaller. Fuel under load. This is the big one. On a narrow band engine, towing MPG is a mood. On a plateau engine, towing MPG is a plan. You sit where BSFC is friendly, and you don't have to over-rev to make torque or dump fuel to protect hardware. That doesn't mean miracles. It means you can predict the hit and live with it. Let's talk about displacement and character, because the curve leaks personality. It doesn't read like a last gasp 6.2 chasing a big number. It reads like a right-sized bore/stroke combo with modern lungs. Expect smaller bore/higher stroke optimization than the old cube for cube mindset, partly to keep the combustion speed where the phasers can use it, partly to help light off and knock margin on 87. If they wanted a brochure roar, they'd spike the tail. They didn't. That tells you this engine is for towing buyers first, poster kids second. Cylinder deactivation? You'll feel it less because you won't need it as often. A flat table at real-world RPMs means the controller can use calmer deactivation patterns without the torsional spikes that make people hate the feature. Expect fewer mode changes, quieter transitions, and cats that stay warm, because the torque you need is already there without gaming the cams. Octane. The curve hints that 87 works honestly and premium adds margin. Not because premium unlocks magic, but because the plateau is built on timing authority that premium protects under heat. Translation: you don't need to feed it fancy unless you're at altitude, towing heavy in July, or you want every bit of the mid-range to stay intact on a road trip. That's sanity, not snobbery. What about sound and feel? Flat torque plus modern manifolds means it won't bark like an old lumpy cam. It'll be calm and thick, more effortless push than, "Look at me." If your joy is a throaty rise and a gear change you can hear, you may wish it were a little dumber. If your joy is a truck that does work without talking about it, this is your lullaby. Let's get concrete about ownership, because the curve also predicts maintenance. Wide phaser use and fast authority means oil is strategy. Run the grade the calibration expects, and don't push intervals. 5,000 miles is a ceiling if you tow or short trip, not a suggestion. Dual injection means intake valves stay cleaner. That's a gift to long-term drivability and cat life. Thermal discipline baked into the hardware means fewer enrichment events when you're behaving. That's better oil life and fewer gasoline-smelling dipsticks after a mountain day. Now the comparison you're screaming at the screen for, Gen-6 V8 versus Turbo 6. The Turbo 6 wins when you live light load and love the quiet shove at 1,700 RPM. The Gen-6 wins when your life is mixed duty with real hills. Under sustained load, the Turbo 6 must protect hardware with richness and timing moves that eat the MPG advantage. The Gen-6's plateau says it will hold gear and give you predictable consumption. Not necessarily higher MPG, predictable MPG. And when you budget for trips, predictability is king. Aftermarket? A flat table from the factory doesn't kill tuning, it re-aims it. You won't chase a big mid-range you already own. You'll chase area under the curve at the edges and thermal headroom. Intake/exhaust won't swing the world because GM already did the free gains. Calibrations that respect light off and cat health while improving part throttle timing where the engine likes to live. That's the smart play. The days of bolt-ons making cartoon torque are gone because the factory finally built the cartoon. What could bite you? The same two things that bite every modern engine: neglect and heat. If you ignore oil, phasers don't care how pretty the torque plot is. If you pack the cooling stack with bugs and badge it patina, you're the reason enrichment shows up and MPG ghosts you. A flat table is not a talisman. It's an invitation to be lazy. Don't accept. Let's run a 5-minute buyer's guide based on this leak. If you tow regularly, drive into headwinds, or live at elevation, the Gen-6 V8 is the default. You'll feel the hold at 3,000 RPM and you'll never go back. If you mostly commute and want the quiet surge of a boosted 6, you'll still love the 6. Just accept that the V8 now steals your thunder when the day gets heavy. If you mod wheels, grind tires without touching gears, pick the Gen-6. The plateau forgives you. If you want to stretch fuel on highway emptiness, the 6 can win, until weather or grade shows up. If you keep trucks 7 to 10 years, the Gen-6 is the easy button for predictability. It asks less behavior from you to deliver the promise. The 6 rewards discipline, the 8 rewards ownership. Now the part nobody else will say, this curve also reveals GM's strategy. They didn't try to win headlines with a number you repeat to your friends. They tried to win the drive you repeat every day. The plateau is a product planner telling the internet, we're done losing grades and headwinds to engines that only exist on paper. That's not sexy, it's adult. So yes, the Gen-6 V8 torque curve looks fake until you understand how they built it. Long lungs, fast phasers, dual injection, and thermal sanity turned a spec sheet into a road feel. Peak early, carry forever, shift less, cool more, predict costs. That's what the leak exposed. Not a hero number, a hero shape. If you're crossing the lot and the salesperson points you at the Turbo 6 because MPG, ask them to show you the torque shape, not just the peak. If they can't, ask for the Gen-6 plot. If you want the poster, buy the high peak. If you want the life, buy the plateau. The torque war is over. GM finally built a line your right foot can trust. Now you know why the leak matters and what to do with it.